guys, my name is Britt Nicole and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over a few ghost stories. So I wanted to make this video and tell you guys 3 ghost stories or demon stories or whatever you guys want to call it. I don't think I 100% believe in ghosts, but there's some creepy things that have happened to me while working at this ice arena that I wanted to tell you guys about. Now, I decided to do this extra video for my prompt for spirit for Booathon. So if you guys didn't know, I'm taking part in a readathon hosted by Maddie, the book pusher, and I'll leave all the links down to all the information in the description if you want to go over and check out that. But before we get started, guys, let's go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let's hit that like button and let's get started. So like I was saying, I have 3 ghost stories or weird things that have happened to me that I've been wanting to tell you guys. Now I'm going to leave names of the company that I worked for and people's names out of this because, you know, I didn't get it approved to them that I could put their names in this, so I'm just going to tell you my stories. 2 stories are about 2 things that happened to me while working at this place. One happened to a really good manager that I absolutely loved, and his story that he told me the morning after this happened. But the first story being, I worked in the front office at this ice arena, and we had a very long oval counter where we sold ice tickets and took birthday parties and just things like that. And this counter was very long and very oval. And underneath the counter, we had a curtain on a string that would go all the way around if you wanted it to. And we kept things like extra paper and pens and things like this up under the counter. Normally, the curtain was pulled where you couldn't see up under the counter and make it look nicer and neater in the office. Well, I had been working at the ice arena for a few weeks now, and it was my first night to work by myself. Super excited. Everything had gone how it needed to, and we were getting ready to close up for the night. So my manager and I were the only 2 left in the building that night, and while I was closing up, I decided to run to the restroom before I clocked out for the night because I had a little bit of a drive on the way home and just wanted to get that done before I got in the car to go home. So when I came back into the office, the curtain was pulled all the way around. I was like, well, that's kind of weird, but maybe my manager came in to get something and just had forgotten to shut the curtain. So, you know, I went around because that was one thing that I was supposed to do. I was supposed to make the office straight for the next person the following morning so they didn't have to clean up when they came in. So I closed the curtain, went back to what I was doing. I needed to make a few copies for the employee for the next morning. So I had gone around the wall because we had a wall kind of separating the main office right in the middle of the office, and the copier was on the other side of the wall. So I gone around the wall, made my copies that I needed to, came back around the wall, and the curtain was pulled all the way again. So in my head, I was like, oh, well, maybe I didn't see my manager come into the office and he had pulled it to get something again. But honestly, thinking about it, and had worked at this place for 6 or 7 years, there's no way I would have not noticed my manager come into the office because the printer was right by the door to come in. I played it off. I was like, whatever. Maybe I hadn't pulled it. I thought I did. Maybe not. So I pulled the curtain back. Well, I had gathered up all my stuff. Me and the manager came into the office. We both clocked out. We both left. You know, he locked the door for the night. I didn't really say anything to him because it was late at night and I was ready to go home. The next day when I had come in for the closing shift, the girl that worked the morning shift was like, hey Britt, you worked last night, right? And I was like, yeah. She goes, well, why was the curtain pulled all the way this morning when I came in? She was trying to be like, oh yeah, you need to clean up. I was like, no, I pulled the curtain before I left. And she was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. And I kind of told her what had happened. She goes, well, you know, this place is haunted, right? I was like, oh, okay, that's great. And she kind of played it off, and she was like, well, things like this happen, you know, don't worry about it, you know, it is what it is. I was like, okay. She just wanted to correct me since it was my first night by myself, but I know I had pulled that curtain. I know I did. Till this day, I know I did. So that night, I was closing up, doing the same thing that I do every night. I had ran to the restroom, came back, and that darn curtain was pulled all the way open again. I was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. I was like, I know I'm new, but somebody's playing tricks on me. So I called my manager. I was like, where are you? And he was like, I'm pulling the Zamboni out on the ice, so I'm just gonna cut the ice. I was like, no, you're not. You just pulled the curtain. You came into the office. He's like, no, Britt, you know, I've been down here. I'm trying to get us out of here for the night. I'm ready to go home. Haha, okay, someone's playing tricks on me. New girl, whatever. So I pulled the curtain back and went back to what I was doing for closing shift. So I needed to go down the hall to get a couple of things. And I saw my manager through the glass. He was on the Zamboni cutting ice, and I didn't even leave that part of the hallway. I saw him on the ice the entire time. Grabbed a few things out of the utility closet, came back down. Again, he was still cutting ice. Walked back into the office, and that curtain was pulled all the way open again. So I closed the curtain. I was like, yep, there's a ghost. There's something going on here. And I've told the girl that had trained me the next morning what had happened. She was like, I told you so. I told you this place is haunted. And like, she 100% believed it, and she had worked there a very, very long time. I was like, well, you know, this doesn't creep me out much. As long as this thing doesn't hurt me physically or anything like that, I could deal with. So my second story, we had an event that day, and it was a very long day. I had been there from like open to close, and also this other girl that worked with me had been from open to close. It was me, her, and my manager that were left in the building. My manager had left the office, and he told us he was gonna go Zamboni the main ice. Me and her finished up what we needed to do. It was closing time, and my manager still wasn't back for all of us to walk out. She was like, well, you know, he won't mind if we just go ahead and go, but let's go tell him. I was like, okay. So we decided to walk down into the ice arena. Now we leave all the main lights in the main hallway on, but in the ice arena we turn them off and only emergency lights are on. So it's illuminated a little bit to the point where you can see where you are, so you're not tripping over yourself, but it's not like lights where you can really see. And the Zamboni was part half on and half off the ice. So me and her decided to go down, talk to my manager, tell him we were leaving for the night. It was getting really late. It was like 1, 2 a.m. And we saw the Zamboni sitting halfway, and we saw a figure sitting on the Zamboni. And it was kind of hunched down, so I thought, oh, maybe my manager was texting somebody, but you couldn't see the light from like a phone or like an iPhone or anything. And, you know, with it being so dark, you would probably see at least a little bit of light. Well, me and her were calling his name to get his attention. Never said anything, so we were halfway down the ice arena, almost to the Zamboni, and the figure turned all the way around, looked us dead in the eyes, but you couldn't see anything. It was just like a hooded figure. You couldn't see inside the face. It was all blacked out. But again, you know, only the emergency lights were on, and we weren't that close to the figure that we couldn't see its face. And me and her were like, okay, our manager is playing a trick on us, or something's going on. So we had gotten all the way to the Zamboni and was walking around it, and the figure turned all the way around, stood up, and I mean, I could see the figure right here. I mean, I could reach out almost and touch the figure. Stood up and jumped off the other side. And so when we finally cleared the other side, there was no one there. Yeah, I had goosebumps all over my body. My friend was completely freaked out. We were like, there's no way our manager could have gone anywhere. Like, he would literally had to crawl up under the Zamboni, and that was super dangerous, and there was no way any of my managers would have done that for any kind of joke. So me and her turned around. We didn't run, but we fast walked out of the ice arena back into the main part of the building and was calling my manager the entire time. So he picks up on like the first ring, and we were like, hey, where are you at? And he was like, oh, I'm in the practice arena finishing off this, and then I'm about to go Zan the main ice. You girls can go home if you want to. We're like, were you just on the Zamboni in the main arena? And he was like, no guys, I'm trying to get the practice arena done so I can go home. What's going on? And we told him what happened. He was like, well, it wasn't me. I promise it wasn't me. Because this manager 100% believed that we had ghosts in the building. He was like, guys, that wasn't me. And he was like, now I'm kind of freaked out to go zam the ice in there now. And me and her were scared to death. We grabbed our stuff, clocked out, left, Yeah, I did actually keep working there for a few more years after that, and nothing that major really happened to me personally again. But that was one of the most creepy feelings and events that's ever really happened to me in this place. Now, the third story is about my manager, the same manager that we thought was playing the second story trick on us. In the ice arena, we had this very long hallway. And on the left-hand side was the ice arenas, and on the right-hand side we had like concession stand, our main office, and skate rental, and a few little vending machines for people to use. And at the end of the hallway was our banquet hall. He was the only one left in the building that night, and he was walking by the vending machines. Now, a backstory for you. Our vending machines have been acting up for about a week or two, and the Coke company had came in to fix them because they were shooting out free beverages, and you know, we were having to reimburse them for those. So we had problems with the vending machines. Well, my manager was leaving, and he was going through making sure that all the trash was picked up. There was no trash on the floor. Everything was just how it needed so he could close up the ice arena for the night. And he said he was walking by the vending machines, and the vending machine started to shake a little bit, kind of like somebody was shaking it to get it out. Now, it wasn't swaying, but it was shaking a little bit. It popped out a Coke. He's like, oh, okay, you know, I need to get somebody in here. There's something wrong with this vending machine. He pulls the Coke out, sits it up on our counter at skate rental, and he goes, you know, another thing I need to write down for my boss so we can get this fixed. Didn't think anything of it. So he's walking down the hallway. Now, our hallways have very large vaulted ceilings, and even when it was pouring down, raining and thunderstorming, you really couldn't hear a lot that was going on the roof, unless it was a very like hailstorm or large droplets of water coming down. Well, he says as he was walking down, he kept hearing footsteps like dunk, 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 dunk on the ceiling. Very loud footsteps on the ceiling. At the time, again, he didn't think anything of it because it could have been a critter or something like that. Now, again, guys, it took hail, large hail, to hear anything from the top of the ceiling. But, you know, being late at night, you're tired, your mind plays tricks on you, I guess. But he said he got halfway down the hallway and the footsteps went dunk, dun, 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 like they had ran away. He's like, oh, I guess the critter had left or whatever it was. Well, down at the banquet hall, we had a long table that we had left there from the event that day, because the same event was going on the next morning. Well, sitting on that table was a Coke, bottle of Coke. My manager was like, oh, well, somebody must have left a Coke. I'm just gonna take it and throw it in the trash, because, you know, wanted to clean up the arena for the night. Didn't think anything about it. And he said when he bent down and picked up the Coke was ice cold. Now, we do work in an ice arena, but the main part of the building isn't that cold. You really have to be behind the glass doors where the ice is for things to really get cold. So this was kind of not normal for a Coke to have been sitting there for probably a few hours since people were gone from the event to still feel like it had come out of a refrigerator. So he takes the Coke and he goes into the office and he clocks out for the night, gets his stuff, starts down the hallway to head back out the door to leave for the night. And he goes, oh yeah, I forgot that Coke sitting on the skate rental. So he turns around to go back and the Coke is gone. And he looks down at the one in his hand and he looks at the skate rental and he was like, well, okay then. He was so creeped out. He was like, well, I'm gone. So he leaves and locks up for the night. And I had came in the next morning. He was like, you're not gonna believe what happened to me last night. I was like, oh, well, tell me, thinking that it was something to do with a customer or a hockey person or whatever. No, it was a ghost story. Let me know in the comments if anything like this has ever happened to you before. These are the three main things that have really creeped me out in my life. 2 stories being mine, 1 being my manager's at the time. And again, guys, go down in the description. If you like these types of videos, hit that thumbs up button. Hit that notification bell to see when I post videos next. And I hope everybody is having a wonderful October season. And I look forward to seeing everybody soon in my next video. Bye!